Hey guys, I'm going to show you a very important example when it comes to selectors. This is a site called FakePersonsGenerator.com, and in this site your requirement is to pull couple of details. For example, you have to pull 5 different details. Let's say name, phone number, his mobile number. You have to pull his birthday, his email address which is here, right, and his address where he stays. So 5, 6 or how many you want. So here for an example we are taking 5 different samples that you need to pick, and once you pick from one data it should refresh and a new data will come on the page. Again you have to repeat the same thing of capturing the name, capturing the phone number, email address, and then birth date and address. So these are the 5 elements you have to pick, and once you pick it, your workflow is supposed to ask where would you like to save the file, what is the file name, and depending on the input from the user it should download all the data and save it to the given folder, right? And at the end, while before it is saving, it should also sort the data as per the name. So this is the requirement, guys. Let me again clarify. You have to first, your requirement is first it should ask customer where to save and what name. Okay, this is the first requirement, and the second requirement is you capture the given data, those 5 data as I said, name and all that, capture all the data, and before saving you have to sort the data. So these are the 3 basic requirements that you should do. So I have already created a workflow. Let me run it. This is very important example. Please do not skip the video or else you will not learn the techniques of using selector. Okay, you will just wonder, but again you will never master this selectors chapter. You will not be able to really select or utilize selector properly. So this is very important. Please do not skip the video. Please do go through the entire video and learn it. Okay, so let me run this workflow and you see it how it is going to work. So first of all, let me close this browser and let me start running it. So as I said, there are 3 requirements. First is it will ask me where is the place I want to save the file, using what name. So enter the desired file name. Let's say I'm going to say fake names is the file name it should save in an Excel format, and click on OK. And here it's asking me where would you like to save this file once the data is getting downloaded. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to select let's say the download folder or any particular folder you want to save as per your choice. Okay, so here let me save it in the documents or downloads. Okay, so I've selected downloads, click on OK. Alright, so once I've done that, it is opening the FakePersonsGenerator.com website and is going to capture all the data one by one and click on refresh. Like that, it's going to do it couple of times. So I have mentioned around 10 times. So it's going to do that 10 times. So there are, why you have to learn this, because this particular site is not a very simple site. I mean, you cannot just highlight and select the data. So there are so many tricks involved, right? We have to use relative selectors, right? We have to use the visual tree and a lot of things that you need to learn. So if you learn this video completely, this is going to help you a lot. So let it complete and I will show you the file and you will understand. So you can see all the names, Kelly. So all these names should be finally sorted as per the alphabet, as per the name. So let me show you this, and I'm going to start designing from the beginning till the end. So you have to stay with me for some time so that you learn it completely. This is such a very important chapter and will be very useful in your practical exams. Okay, so you have to have patience. All right, so almost done, guys, and after this we will see that particular file name. Okay, so this is complete now. So let me open the file name. So in the downloads folder, if I go, okay, I have some problem with my Excel file. Okay, so it started getting all the data. So I've kept my file name open that time, but again it started getting all the 10 data and it has captured the name, captured the phone number, captured the email address, captured the birth date, captured the address. Okay, and perfectly it has captured. There is no problem at all. So how do you do it? It is the skill of your selectors. How skilled you are in selectors will determine, okay, if you are capturing the right data or not. I'm going to show that. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do, let me delete all of this data. Okay, and then I'm going to start from very beginning. So I'll go to the UiPath Studio and I'm going to delete the entire thing so that you start designing along with me, so that you won't get bored just by listening. You also can do it along with me. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to delete the entire sequence. Okay, and here we will start. So remember, we have to anytime you get a requirement like this, you have to first started sorting out what are your steps. So you have to first write it in a paper or notepad or whatever you like. Start writing. That is where you will make your framework and you will design on top of that. Okay, so the very first thing is you will write. What is the first thing? You will first ask, select the folder, or you will ask and enter the file name. So which is that file it should finally save to, right? You will ask the file name, and then you will ask select the folder where exactly you want to save the file. Okay, and once you do that, next thing is you have to build the data table, right? So that you can store the data dynamically. So you will build a data table. That is your third activity. Then fourth, you will probably open the browser so that you open that fake site. Okay, and once that is done, your fifth step would be you'll be start extracting the data, right? You'll start getting the text from the website. Okay, once this is your get text. So once you get the text, what you will do, once all the text you have done for all of them, then you will refresh the page, correct? Right, and then and the next thing you want to do is, once you refresh the page, the next thing you will do is you will add data row. I mean, you are going to, whatever the data you are extracting, you will be adding that to continuously to the data table, right? And the final thing that you will do is you will write to an Excel. Sorry, before that you have to sort the data, right? Sort the data, and then the final one will be writing to Excel. Okay, so these are the steps. So this may not be clear at this moment when I'm writing like this, but again, let's get started. You also do along with me so that it won't get bored to watch such a long video, but again, this is going to help you a lot. So the very first thing is I'm going to start asking the customer as to what is the file name. Once I extract data, which file name you want to save it, right? So I'm going to ask the input dialog box. Here I'm going to ask us a very simple question: enter the desired file name. Okay, and here whatever the customer is entering the data, that should get stored in a variable. So I'll give a name called file name. Clear? All right, now the next thing is it has to store to a specific folder. Okay, so customer will point, I want to store in downloads, I want to store in documents, I want to store in desktop. Wherever he selects, it should get stored. So for that you will be using an activity called select folder. Were you aware of this? This activity called select folder. So this activity is going to guide you. So you saw when I ran the demo for the first time, it asked me where would you like to save, and I was selecting. So this is the activity which will help. So whatever the customer is selecting, that will get stored in a variable. So I'll create a variable and I will say selected folder. Okay, whatever name you want to give. Done. So once this is done, the next activity of me is data table. So the data table is required because every time once it captures the entire set of data, it should store somewhere, right? So I'll be using a build data table, and this is again very simple. Click on data table, and what you do, close, by default you will have that. Just remove all of them and start from the beginning. So the very first one, so you got it right how I'm doing. Just click on the plus sign. So here the very first thing I want is name. Okay, so let everything to be string. Okay, no problem, just keep it string. And the next thing, it should be phone number. Okay, everything I'm keeping a string only, phone number. And then the third thing is let's say email address, right? Email address. And the next thing will be date of birth, DOB. Okay, and the final thing I want to fetch is, let's say, address, his address. Okay, where he stays. So once I build the data table, I'm good. Click on OK, and this should get stored in a data table called, let's see, you can give any name. So I love dt1, so I'll say dt1, but you should give a proper name. Okay, so fine, so dt1 is done. And once that is done, the next thing I want to do is I will open the browser, right? Open the browser, just follow me. Okay, it's very simple, but again you should be able to create this project. So once I do open browser, which is that site I supposed to open, I'm going to provide this link to you, okay, on the in the description, or else you can type it. I'll provide the link to you so you can do your project properly. So here I have put the open browser. So while using open browser, always remember to select the choice of your browser. So for me it's Chrome. I love Chrome, so I'm using Chrome. Fine. And then the next thing is I have to get, let's say, 10 data 10 times or 13 times or 15 times or 5 times. So I have to put a loop, right? So that it'll refresh and then it will continue to do that 5 times or 10 times. So I'll use a do while loop or while loop, or whichever your choice. So I'll go with do while loop, let's say. Okay. So here in the do while loop, I need a counter variable. So what I'm going to do, I'll use a create a variable called counter, and I will make that to integer, and here I'm going to provide a value called 0 so that I will count. Okay, so here I am saying counter is less than 10. So until then you should do while, and this counter value, initial value is 0, so it should increase, right? So I have to use assign activity inside this loop, and I will say counter is equal to counter plus 1, so that first will be 0, then it will become 1, then 2, so like that 10 times it will run. So this is very simple logic and very simple and very useful logic. Okay, so this is done. Now the main agenda here is I have to get the data from the site one by one. Okay, so the very first data is what? Name, right? So I'll be using an activity called get text. Okay, this will be a very useful activity called get text to extract the data from a user interface element from the fake name site. Okay, so here I am going to click on indicate on screen and point out. So here what you do, you see this is a very dynamic, dynamic in the sense how do you selector will determine the success of your project, whether you are really pulling the proper data or not. So from here you have to concentrate and do as I am doing. Okay, so here what I'm doing, I need the name, so I'm highlighting the name. Done. And once you highlight the name, click on the selector, and here click on open UI Explorer. Okay, so what you do, we have to use the UI Explorer several times. You can also open a UI Explorer separately and keep it, or for the very first time open from that window. So I've opened the UI Explorer, and whatever we have selected has come. So remember, there is a rule in this. None of your selectors should have a IDX. This IDX should not be part of your selectors. So whatever activities you are going to create, none of them should have a IDX element. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I will use something called relative selector. I have taught you in the playlist, right? So relative selector, once you indicate the element, the next thing is you indicate the anchor. That is how you create a relative selector. So I'm going to click on indicate anchor, and here I am going to highlight the picture on top of it. So that will become a anchor, and this will become the target element. So I'm going to select the anchor. Okay, so once I select the anchor, you will see the IDX element should automatically vanish. Do you see the IDX element has vanished? So this is one of the very useful technique. You should be able to use it. Okay, so let me copy this. I will keep the UI Explorer open because I can use multiple times, and I will copy paste. Okay, and try to validate. Okay, so once you are done, what you do, go back to your page, try to refresh it. Okay, so that means there is a different name. Now you should check if your select is working on that one or not. So click on validate, you will get a red mark. Don't worry, again try to click on validate. Okay, so that way this is your proper one. Click on OK. So that what is happening now, I got the name. Okay, similar way I have to do it for all the other activities, but there are techniques. Do not just skip it. As I said, do not skip this video because there are techniques. So now the next thing is I need to have the phone number. So here I will again click on indicate on screen and select the phone number. So this is the technique, guys. So here if you see, this is a bigger container. If you see, everything is getting highlighted till the end, right? So everything is getting highlighted. So this is a bigger container, and inside this bigger container there is another user interface element called phone number. So the phone number is there inside another so this is the main container. Inside that there is another container. So in such cases you will be completely, you will fail while using a selector. Your selector will not work properly. So there is a technique, very simple technique. It took me more than 3 hours. I'm telling you seriously, it took me more than 3 hours to figure this out. I was not able to, I was struggling from afternoon. I am trying to build it. Right now it's night, probably 1 o'clock now going to be, and I was struggling for more than 3-4 hours to get a proper selector. Okay, so this knowledge will be very helpful for you. So let's learn it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it very simple. I took 3 hours, but you will learn in 1 minute. So what I'm going to do here, I have kept the UI Explorer open. So keep one UI Explorer window open all the time. Okay, so there I am going to work. So here what I'm going to do, click on indicate on screen. Okay, so instead of me clicking on indicate on screen, what I'm going to do, I'm directly use the UI Explorer itself, so that I can copy the XML fragment from here and paste it in the selector inside that activity. So what I'm going to do here I'm going to click on indicate element. Okay, and I'm going to select only this one. Okay, only the phone number. So don't highlight here, highlight over the phone number. So you are selecting the small container. Okay, so once you have selected the small container, there is a trick. You cannot use indicate anchor, because if you do indicate anchor, what would happen, it might select this one, the upper one, so this will happen. You can try that. So I struggled for 3 hours. So now once you do this, what you do, just above this, so when you find a small container inside a bigger container like that, in that kind of example, you go with the above node. On that, this is the final node. On top of that there is another node, right? Click on this node. Okay, so once you click on the node, what you do, remember to remove the CSS selector. This is generally not required, so always you remove the CSS selector. Okay, once you remove this, there is something called ANA mobile. So you click on this. Active accessibility name is very important. Highlight that and remove the CSS. This is the technique, guys. It took me 3 hours to figure this out. Now once I do this, okay, so you see the ID number has vanished, right? So this become a proper selector. Try to validate here in the UI Explorer once. Okay, validate it. Just copy this, go to your activity, and here in the selector, what you do, put a double quote and paste it. Simple. Click on OK. Okay, so if you want to validate, you can see it got a tick mark, green tick mark, so everything is proper, perfect. Now the same thing I need to repeat, and remember, every time you are doing this, as I always recommend you to change the page, refresh the page, so the new data will come, and see if your new selector is really working or not. So try to validate. So it is working fine. Okay, green tick mark means it's working fine. Now the same thing I will repeat for the email address. Again, use the get text activity. Okay, and here again I'll use the UI Explorer, click on indicate element, and this time my email address is slightly different now. So here what you do, hit on F2, because you have to scroll down the page. Hit on F2, function 2, and here you got the email address. So there is an anchor here, right? So I'll use the first method. So I'll select this relative selector. Okay, this is called relative selector. First I indicated the target element, and now I am going to, so you see IDX is there. So now I am going to click on indicate anchor, and I am going to click on the anchor email. So now if you see, just a moment, just see now, the including the anchor, this will come. Okay, now if you see here still you have a IDX element, right? So if you have a IDX element like this, what you do, just manually remove this. Okay, remove this manually and try to validate. The selector is not valid. 1 second. Again scroll down, highlight this. So I said CSS selector should not be there, so remove the CSS selector as well, and remove the IDX. So CSS selector and IDX I am just trying to remove. CSS selector I have unchecked from here. Okay, so comma and all that, you should be very careful. Look at it. Okay, done. Now let's try to validate. Okay, now it got a green tick mark. Again, what is happening, the IDX is coming back again and again. Let me remove it. and try to validate. Now let me remove this IDX part. Let me try to validate. I hope the IDX doesn't come. Okay, if it is coming again and again, what you do, simply remove this and try to copy everything. Go here, and here in the get text I am going to paste it directly. Okay, again put a double quote, paste it here, click on OK. Now come back and try to validate from here. Okay, so it got a green tick mark, no IDX, so it is proper, fine. Okay, so this is another way. So email is done. Now next is your date of birth. So date of birth is slightly more challenging. So get text, again I am using UI Explorer only, click on indicate element, and here I have to go slightly upright. So here I will, this is the birth date or date of birth. So here I am going to, if you see 20-year-old, so here I have to select only this small container. Okay, so these are all small containers, so I am going to select only this container, and once I selected, so remember I have done that previous way, so I will be selecting the upper node, and here I should unselect the CSS selector and click on the ANM. And in case you are getting the ID, so you are still getting the IDX, right? So if you get a IDX like this, all you have to do is you have to manually delete it. Okay, so I'm going to be very careful. Don't delete that apostrophes and all that. Be very careful. So I'll copy this and go back to this one, and here in this get text activity, go to selector, put a double quote. Simple. See how I am making easy, which took lot of time for me, but I am trying to make it slightly easy for you. So here in get text, if you go here, so once you paste it, try to open that again. Okay, 1 second, why this is not opening? If I click on this, this is coming properly. Now if I click on this, this is supposed to come properly, but it is not coming. ANM, birthday, year old, so that's fine. Okay, we will test it at the end. So birth date is done. Now next final activity is my address, right? I have to get the address. So for address, again do the same thing, click here, indicate element, and here I am going to select only the address part, not the entire thing. Okay, only the address part. Again the same technique, let it come. Alright, and here I am going to select this one, and I am going to select the ANA. Okay, and CSS selector should be unselected. Fine, so this is also fine. Just try to validate. Working fine. So let me copy this, go over here, get text, and here your selector. So your selector will go wrong only when you are not very careful and you have not validated well. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing, very slowly I'm doing and trying to validate everything. Okay, so it's validated. Alright, so all done. So now what I'm going to do, once I capture all the data, I should be able to add that to data table. So to add that to data table, I'll use something called add data row. Okay, and here in the add data row, I'll be using the data table called dt1, and here in the array row I have to start adding all the variables. So what is that? So here, before you adding the data, what you do for all these activities, right, get text and all that, there is an output. Okay, so here in the output you have to start writing. So that's why I'm saying do not skip it. If you skip the video, all these pointers you will miss. So get text B. So here what I'm going to do, control plus K, this is for the name, right? So I'll say name, and the next one was for the phone number. So make a note, okay, how, so I remember how I was going. So this is for the phone number. Okay, and the third one, right, the third one was for the email address, control plus K, and I'm saying email, done. And the fourth one was for the date of birth. So here control plus K, I'm saying DOB. Okay, and the final one was for the address. So control plus K, I'm saying address. Fine, so everything is done. So now all the variable is set. All I have to do is I have to add those variables into this data table. So what is the format for this? You have to put a double quote sign and start writing one by one. So the first one is name, comma, next one is phone number, make sure your spelling is correct, and the third one is email, and the fourth one was what, dob, and the last one was right, comma, address. Okay, so ensure your spelling is correct, if not there will be error here. So I think for me it is all correct. So done. Now I'm adding. So after you add, what you're supposed to do, you have to click. So once it captures all the data in the loop, it's supposed to click on the refresh button, right? So I'll be hitting on click, indicate on screen, and hit on F2, and here it should refresh, right? So I'm going to hit. Okay, fine. So it's going to capture all the data and going to refresh. So like that is going to do it for 10 times until the counter is less than equals to 10. So I have started the counter from 0. So it will do 10 times. Okay, so once it does all that, finally it should sort the data as per the name, right? I told you. So this is also one of the requirement from the project. So it should sort the data. Sort data table. Here what I'm going to do, the input data table is my DT1, and output also I want this in the same data table. So I'll use the same data table as DT1, and here as per the index. So the very first data is name, right, which will be there in the 0 index. I'm putting 0. Fine, it's going to sort the data for me, and after that it should write the data. So this is also a skill for you to know how it writes the data. So write, and I'll be using a write range workbook activity. Okay, so here in the write range, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this. So first, for in the very first one I asked, right, which folder you want to select. So that is getting stored in the variable called selected folder, correct? So same thing I'm going to do it here. Write the variable called selected folder, and I'll give a plus sign, put a double quote, and in the double quote I'm going to put a backslash. Okay, so that folder path will come, and then there's a backslash, and then what is the file name. So the file name custom will give in the beginning, that gets stored in the variable called file name, and plus the extension of the file, right? So the extension of the file, put in double quote .xlsx. Fine, it's going to put it in the xlx format, so the file will get stored. Now the next one I want is from what data table. So I want to use the dt1, which has all the data. Fine, while using write range, remember to click on add header. So whatever headers you have given while building the data table will come. Simple. So my job is done. Are we all set? Let's see. If there is any error, we will try to correct it. So now let me save it and start running it and see how it is going to work. Okay, so okay, it has come. Enter the desired file name. So let's say I'm going to give fake name example. Okay, I'm giving, so fake name example.xlx it will become. And where would you like to save it? Let's say I'm going to select in the downloads folder. So I'll go, or whichever folder you want. So I'm doing it because I can delete it quite easily. So downloads, and click on OK. All right, so now the path I have selected, now it's supposed to go to, and start capturing all those 5 elements. All you have to ensure is all the 5 elements are captured properly or not. Okay, and after that it should click on refresh. If there is any error, we will get to see. We'll try to rectify that in case. Okay, looks like there is some kind of an error. Just a moment. Okay, get text, the selector is not valid. So here it is saying the selector is okay. For the third one it was not coming. I was telling why it is not coming. So let me try it once again. So this one, for this one it came, right? Get text selector is not valid. 1 2 3, yeah, this is the one. So this is date of birth. while I was doing date of birth, I was not able to validate over here. So let me start again. So I'll use a get text activity. So I'll use a get text activity. We'll correct it. So get text and we'll put it over here. And here what I'm going to do, again click on indicate element. I hope the page is open. Here let me click on indicate element, this one, right? Yeah, indicate element. Here I'm going to say date of birth. All right, and once I have the let me try again, click here, indicate date of birth. So I'm doing it in UI Explorer. So once I do this, as I said, click on the above this one, remove the CSS selector and highlight the AA name. Okay, and the IDEX you have to manually delete it. Delete it. Try to validate. Okay, everything is fine. Let's copy this. Go back to the get text activity. Open this one here. Try to paste it. I think the paste was not. The paste is not working. Copy and paste. Okay, try to validate. Okay, now it is working, so it should work now. All right, now all I have to do, mention the output. Output was DOB, right? Okay guys, so let's run it. And now it's going to ask me enter the desired file name, and I'm going to say, let's say fake names. Click on OK, and here I'm going to select the particular place where you want to save it. So let me select the downloads folder. Okay, click on OK. All right, let's see how it works. Sometime in case it's not able to capture, always give a delay activity. Okay, if it is very quick, then provide a delay activity. Okay, it's capturing all the data. Let's hope. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, okay, okay. All right, I think all the data has been captured now. Okay, all right, let's wait. All right, now it's complete. Now the workflow is completed. Okay, so let me go to the download folders, and here is the file. So let's see. Wow, so you can see it has sorted as per the name, right? A B C D. So like, I mean, as per the alphabet, it has sorted it out. And I've got the phone number. Is it proper? Yes, perfect. Email address, is it proper? Yes, it's perfect. Date of birth, is it proper? Perfect. Address, is it proper? Perfect. Very good guys. So hope you guys have learned this will be very useful in your practical exam. So ensure you learned this technique and go and appear the practical exam guys. This is very important aspect. Thank you for watching guys. Thank you for having patience with me. Please do continue with UiPath Expo Hub. We come up with a lot of such videos which will be really helpful in your job. If you are a working professional, or if you're looking for a job, then you need all of the skills, right, to appear for a job interview. So if you know how it all of these things works, then you will be for sure in a great position to get a job, and or you're in a job, you will be doing a greater job there. Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day. Please do not forget to hit on the like button, guys. Please do not forget to hit on the like button. Please do click on like button. Please do subscribe. Thank you. Have a good day.